no idea what we're gonna do, or if we're gonna do anything at all. We're gonna go visit family in the valley, but it's a long ass drive, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't seem like it's that long, but it's like
Yeah.
when it just it really is.
Hey, smelly melly.
I don't smell, bastard.
The drive to the valley. I mean, if there was like a lot of little towns that you drive through, maybe I would be okay with it. But there's a whole lot of nothing for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just and the only roads down there are like the little like 2-lane highways for the most part, right? It's
Right,
not
yeah.
like it's not like an interstate where you can get away with going 90 like from Laredo to Brownsville, which would
But I
make
still do. I'm such a lawbreaker, man. I can't drive 75 when I'm going to the valley. Hell no. That'll take too long. Yeah, I floor it.
What about you, Melissa? Any 4th of July plans?
No.
Yeah, us neither.
We don't really do a whole lot, usually. Sometimes my family will get together and barbecue if it's a weekend, and I think it's a Saturday this year, right? So
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
we might actually do that, but no. I'm sure my mom will tell me sometime this week if we're gonna do something. If they do, they might come here because I live close to a lake where they do fireworks usually, and you can see them
nice.
from there. So that way you don't actually have to go, to the lake and find parking and find a place to sit. You can just stay here, but you have to deal with my landlady's cats. She has so many fucking cats. There's like strays that she feeds, and then other strays find out, and then they come.
They find out.
They communicate.
This is a stray cat newsletter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like 101 Dalmatians. They have that like they all talk to one another and pass messages along. So yeah, I love the 4th of July, but like we don't go out like looking for the fireworks. We like watch them. Normally we end up watching the ones from San Antonio because those seem to be the best ones. So. Yeah, we're bad Americans, and we're such bad Americans that we're talking about British television, and so welcome to the 17th episode of Doctor Who Virgin. We're halfway through the 2nd season of Torchwood, and this week I got through Reset, Dead Man Walking, A Day in the Death, and Something Borrowed. But before we get into that, it sounded like there was some news this week that I completely don't comprehend, and there's probably like spoilers in it. So I don't know. Mark. Do you want to talk about that? Should I bug out for a second? Are there going to be major spoilers if we talk about that, or?
Well, let's take it as it comes. Yeah, let's just go for it.
Okay, just go for it. Okay, so tell us about this news that we learned about the upcoming season.
Well, the upcoming Doctor Who season.
Yes.
Well, we already talked about Maisie Williams, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, I thought there was something with River Song.
Oh no. No, that wasn't confirmed though.
Oh, okay.
She's doing a radio special of the Doctor Who universe, but she's going back to Doctor Number 8's timeline.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, I don't know how this is going to work out because it really isn't spoilerish because and there wasn't that much information given. It's been confirmed that she's going back to Paul McGann's timeline, but they said that she doesn't know who he is yet or who he's going to be yet. So I have no idea how that's going to work out. Like, I don't know what kind of adventure they're going to get into, because she's half Time Lord herself. But apparently, to what I read, is that she doesn't know he's the Doctor. So nobody knows who each other are. There's just going to be this one big adventure going on, and nobody knows who's who. There's no direct consequence to the future, I should say.
That's weird.
It is. That's why I posted that on Facebook, and I'm like, this is interesting. But I don't know how they're going to work it out, so I'm real interested in it. That's one I'm going to keep my eye on and just probably going to listen to.
And it's just going to be a radio drama?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So how?
No. You were thinking it was going to be like part of next season's Doctor Who?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, obviously, I totally didn't understand from what you posted.
Yeah, no, and that's why when you said, is it going to be, I'm like, well, no, I don't think so.
See, but this is the whole point. Like, I don't know anything about what's going on, and especially like characters who I know their name and I know some basic information about them, but I don't really know what's going on. So that's
You shouldn't even know who River Song is.
Yeah, well, that
annoys me that you know already.
that's why I asked you rather than like trying to explain it myself, because obviously I don't know anything.
No, but I think it's kind of cool that she's going to jump into the Eighth Doctor's, Paul McGann's Doctor, into his timeline or his era of events, because there is no direct line. So I just don't know exactly what it's going to be, though.
Is Paul McGann also going to be?
Yes.
Is he still around? So okay.
Yeah. So it's his Doctor. It's going to be his voice on the radio. I kind of wish we would have had at least one full season with Paul McGann, because not only do I like him as an actor, I think he's a fantastic actor. His interpretation of the Doctor was pretty cool, even though the movie was kind of lame. Because all his history just boils down to an hour-and-a-half long movie. But I thought it was pretty cool. We just didn't get much to do with him. And he actually shows up later on, which you'll eventually catch on to.
And in that, is that the episode where John Hurt shows up too? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. I somewhat know about these things. So.
Yeah. When he showed up, I did a fanboy squeal. I was like, I started pointing at the TV and jumping.
Yeah. Well, since I have not seen Paul McGann, I probably will not see Paul McGann. Then, yeah. One other thing I wanted to talk about before we got into these Torchwood things were these, what I feel to be some of the greatest art produced in the last 5 years, and of course I'm talking about the Shia LaBeouf paintings of him. All 12. I'm totally joking. Melissa, tell us what you thought about those.
I don't think about them at all anymore. I'm trying to put them out. Which one of you guys posted that? I don't even remember.
I did.
That
was me.
On your house, sir.
If there's ever anything really annoying that happens on this podcast, it's totally me. Like I did basically the entirety of the locomotion on last week's episode, and
yes, I listened.
And I don't apologize for that. So you can enjoy that or not.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was funny. I did. It made me want to listen to Walking on Sunshine afterwards.
Oh, shut your face! I can't oh God, that song is just so forced happiness down my throat.
Yep.
It's so saccharine. I hate it. I love R.E.M., but I hate that Happy Shiny People song.
You don't like the Shiny Happy People song?
That's mocking songs like Walking on Sunshine. You realize that, right?
The what?
It's mocking songs like Walking on Sunshine.
I don't care. It's horrible. Ugh. I don't like it. I don't. I'd much rather listen to Locomotion. Much rather.
I would
arranged.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
I don't dislike any of those songs necessarily, but I would go "Shiny Happy People," "The Locomotion," "Walking on Sunshine." So that's my
I'd,
order.
I'd have to kick Locomotion right up there, followed by Bananarama.
Oh, I'd like, but don't you talk smack about
I
Bananarama.
am
I like
talking smack about
Bananarama.
them. Like, I don't care whose Venus you are, just shut up already.
That's a great song.
That is a great song.
That is a
No
great
way,
song.
man.
Marco would hate my record collection. I'm telling you, he would hate it.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody
So,
needs the record collection.
but Shia LaBeouf paintings. Did
No,
anyone?
why did we go back to that?
Because I want to know if anyone had a favorite.
Oh man, the Eccleston one.
The Eccleston one was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it
I
was
think I
pretty
got
cool.
a. Yeah, it looked the most Shia LaBeouf douchey of all of them. So,
I don't know what to think about the guy. I don't hate him, and he's actually a pretty good actor. He really is. I mean, if you look at his movies, Terminator wasn't his fault at all. That's Michael Bay's fault. But he's actually a pretty good actor. He always was.
you mean Transformers, not Terminator?
Oh crap! Yeah, well, Terminator's gonna be crap anyway. But yeah, Transformers. Yeah, I meant Transformers.
Oh,
You know,
Mister, don't prejudge before you've seen it, right? Mister, get mad at me for judging the Supergirl pilot, but based on a really shitty trailer. And now you hear, oh, well, Terminator's gonna suck.
okay,
Have you seen it?
touche. But in my defense, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the only actor that's coming back, and Linda Hamilton just changed, and now we have Jai Courtney as Reese.
Okay, Giant Court, I'll give you that. But
It does. In my defense, this movie doesn't make any kind of sense.
No.
It doesn't. And I guess I am prejudging, but they're kind of forcing this on me.
Don't you get mad at me, Mister, from now on.
But you're judging an entirely original thing.
Supergirl's not original.
Well, the show is.
Well, it's
done before.
but it's not pulling off of a previously heretofore made franchise. It's supposed to be its own. It's not borrowing from the 1984 Helen Slattery movie. It's like restarting, rebooting. But essentially, Terminator Genesis is also a reboot. Because the last we saw, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which I loved that show. I thought that show was great. And even though I was hugely skeptical with Brian Austin Green and so on, I thought that it was great, and they ended up in such a what the F space, and I'm like, what is going on? Where John Connor is on a submarine with the Shirley Manson liquid metal Terminator, and they're going to form some sort of alliance. It's like, what?
Well, at least Cersei, or whatever her name is, kind of looks like Linda Hamilton.
That is true.
Emily Clark looks nothing like like Linda Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And Jai Courtney looks absolutely nothing like the original Reese. Not even one bit. So it bothers me on every level.
That's okay. Thomas Dekker didn't look like Eddie Furlong, and what's his name didn't look like either of them either.
Nick Stahl.
And Batman, Newsy, what's his name?
Christian Bale.
None of those guys look like each other. So we've had 4 completely different looking John Connors.
Yeah, and that's the reason it got progressively worse. You know it.
Well, at least the Christian Bale John Connor was yelling at everyone on set, so that was.
I think what needs to happen is for Arnold Schwarzenegger to zap his naked body back in time, and just tell James Cameron enough already. save this franchise before the future ruins it. So we won't have to have this conversation.
Please just keep James Cameron. You keep making Terminator
You keep
movies,
making these movies.
or else bad things are going to happen. So okay, well we've successfully stopped talking about Doctor Who to talk about another time travel franchise. I'm seeing Terminator tomorrow night, and I'm excited about it. I don't care. I'm not prejudging it, and if it ends up being a beautiful disaster, I'm gonna be really happy with that. It just looks ridiculous on so many levels, and
Yes,
I can't wait. So let's start talking about Torchwood. Speaking of some ridiculous stuff, Reset. We have the return of Martha, which I loved, and she's actually really well used. So
Yes.
I really like that. That was the number one thing that I liked about this episode.
Yeah, I loved having her back. I actually liked Alan Dale. Um, what is he? Kiwi, right? He's a Kiwi actor.
I think so. That
Yeah.
might, yeah.
Look him up. Yeah, he's Kiwi. He played this weird American scientist who's experimenting with alien life forms to help bring cures to the diseases on Earth. And they're using patients that are already on the dying list, or they have terminal diseases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's experimenting on them. And Jack calls Martha in for some help. I thought it was a pretty cool setup. I like what happened. I thought it was very action oriented. And there's that whole little thing that Owen's using, that the zapper. What do you call that?
Oh yeah. What? It's just a zapper. I don't know what else it was.
I forgot what he called it. He names it something clever. I forget what it is. But it's kind of funny how he says that he's an expert using it, and he's blowing things up, trying to show them how he's an expert using it. But of course, it works out in the end in his favor because he saves Martha's life. But something else happens at the end with Owen, which I guess we'll talk about in just a bit.
Yeah, Melissa, your thoughts about the return of Martha?
Well, you guys know my feelings about Martha. Not my favorite character, not my favorite companion for sure. At this point, after season 3 of Doctor Who, which was wildly uneven, except for Blink, which was really great, but other than that, it just wasn't a very good season. And I sort of felt like I'd been trying to just trudge through it, And so seeing her back, I wasn't going to embrace her all of a sudden. I wasn't going to just oh, I love Martha. But I was happy, though, to see her be useful and not be a maid. That was good, too. It was nice to see her. She's a doctor, so she's obviously passed her exams. But my favorite part, besides Owen dying, because that'll always be my favorite, even though they brought him.
Jesus, man.
But I hate Owen, so But my favorite part was when her and Captain Jack, remember they were sitting, I guess, in his office or something, and he was asking how she got into unit, and she says that she came highly recommended. And it's so funny because they skirted around actually saying the words "the doctor."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They, him, they call it like he's God or something, But when he asked if she misses it, I guess because of the way she was just pining over him all season, I expected her to look all wistful or sad. But thankfully, she didn't. She looked like she was happily moved on with her life. And so that made me happy that they finally sort of released her from that, how do I even say this, that trapping that she had found herself in that whole season. You know what I'm saying? So that was probably my favorite part of the episode, is that she didn't show that regret or anything. She seemed secure with her decision, and she didn't seem like she was pining for him anymore.
Yeah. I think she said something like, I've made my decision and I'm not looking back, or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's this whole I always saw her as a strong character, but there is this like real groundedness to her decision that made her seem even stronger. Like, yeah, that was fun. I might miss it sometimes, but I made my decision and I've moved on. That's pretty cool. And the fact that she joined UNIT, and this is something that's pretty big, because UNIT doesn't really show up much on the New Who, but in the old Doctor Who, UNIT was a pretty big deal. What Torchwood is now to the New Who, UNIT was to the old Who. That was this secret organization or a secret government thing that worked a lot like a combination of the FBI, CIA, and MI5. They took care of all the threats to Earth, and the fact that Martha is part of UNIT now is actually pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that but they actually gave her something to do, and I like that they brought her in specifically to take over for Owen. It's like, nah, you kind of suck as a doctor. We're gonna get a real doctor to figure this out. So take that. I somewhat I'm not quite to Melissa's point of Owen hate, but I'm more turned against him than I am for him, so I can't say I was like, oh, he's dead. All right, cool. That's kind of cool. And then we had 2 episodes where he's dead and dealing with death. But
Well, I mean, first of all, what would Jesus do, Andy?
I think
He would forget. I'm just screwing with you.
he might forgive, but Jesus would not be happy with rapists. And,
No, he would not. He would not. But here's the thing about Owen, that by this episode, he's already worked out a lot of the things that made him who he was, in terms of all his bad, aspects of his personality. And you can see there is this change going on. He actually connects with Tosh on this episode, right?
Yeah.
He invites her out, and he tells her, this is the kind of guy I am, but I want to give this a try. So we totally see this shift in Owen, and it looks like it's going to be good, and then boom, he dies. So I felt bad because everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody.
Yeah. I guess they do, but at the same time, it's like he's changed, but how much? When Tasha's like, "I love you," and that's not in this episode, but still, he doesn't.
He was really flippant with her in the previous episode, the one with the memories. He was real flippant with her and kind of rude about the flowers and stuff. And then this next episode, we're supposed to think he's warmed up all of a sudden. It's just too. It's very out of character. It's too fast. Like they've spent a season and a half developing this guy as kind of a dipshit, and now he's supposed to have feelings. Like I feel like that, in terms of his personal life at least, that's just.
Well, yeah.
It's very sudden to me.
That episode that you're referring to, we actually saw the root of all this, of his character flaws, and I think because of that, he's still processing. I mean, he's not going to change immediately, and that's why that episode ended the way it did with Tosh. But the fact that he's telling Tosh that he wants to give this a try, I think he was doing a lot of internal processing, trying to make some change, knowing who he is, knowing what his faults are, and trying to change. I thought that was a pretty good move, and I don't see it as completely out of character. After you go through something like that, it does take some time to do some self-reflection. You just don't change overnight, but you do make some kind of change.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I get it. I get why you wouldn't like this character, but I also get that sometimes people hit a revelation in their life, and they start making change little by little. I mean, case in point, I'll throw it out there. I mean, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and for years and years, I mean, I couldn't see what was right in front of me, and little by little, I started making change. I mean, the big change in my life was my daughter being born, but I started adapting to. Well, I started recognizing a lot of my faults and letting a lot of stuff that was really holding me down, just letting it go. And I slowly made the changes to where I'm at right now. I still have a ways to go as a human being, but I've made those changes. And I think, Owen deserved that. And everybody deserves that second chance. And I think we started seeing a little bit of that But unfortunately, that was cut short.
It's hard
Yeah.
for me to forgive sexual assault. I don't think there's any arc that he could go on that would make me forget that. It's just not, I don't think that's going to happen. Um, I understand what you're saying, and I do believe that people can change, and I do believe, that when people say, oh, people don't change, no, they kind of do. I've seen it, and I was a different person, like in my 20s than I am now in my 30s. People do change, and I do believe in redemption, but there's just certain things for me personally, I think sexual assault is one of them. I just can't. It's hard for me to get past that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And like we talked last week uh, with James Marsters a little bit about Spike, and I kind of feel the same way. Like I just could never get over the fact that Spike tried to rape Buffy in season 5, and I'm never gonna get over that. I'm sorry. Like that just no. I'm not. No, just no, no, no. Yeah, Angel can be forgiven for a lot of murders because he was a vampire and he was soulless. Spike knew exactly what he was doing, and and this was, yeah, it was just so wrong on so many levels, and I could never like forgive that. I think Owen is not quite that bad, but
Right.
I mean, it's not like we should create like a gradation scale of like sexual assault of like what is less bad and more bad, but still, I don't know. I don't feel like he has enough runway to like really prove, oh, that this was redemptive, because as we'll see in these next few episodes, I mean, he gets that entire thing taken away from him. Like he has no more drive to have any sort of sexual impulse. He has no ability to be sexual whatsoever. And so does that make him like cured of his impulses, or is it just like, oh, well, you're an alcoholic, but you're just in a place where there's no alcohol, and you could still be an alcoholic even though you're completely dry. So I don't know. I don't feel like he's completely redeemed. I feel like he's maybe on his way there. But we could see that. I did want to talk about one thing before. We've talked a lot about the next 2 episodes already, but the whole ethics of the reset and experimenting on alien life forms and human experiments that kill them in order to try and find a kind of universal cure. Um, Good, bad.
That's kind of well. If you're just experimenting for experimenting's sake, then I'm dead set against it. And we have the Tuskegee experiments that we can point at
Yep.
that our government did. They were having African Americans ingest or rub mercury on themselves to try and see if that was a cure for syphilis, which of course we know wasn't. And by that time, they already knew that penicillin was going to be what was going to help the most. So if you're just experimenting for the sake of experimenting on people, then no, I am dead set against that. If you have a drug that is shown to eradicate certain cancers or HIV or whatever on lab animals, and you want to move that to humans and maybe offer it to those that are already dying, that's a question where it gets kind of tricky because these people are already dying, and if you offer this to them, is that a bad thing?
Not what they're consented isn't. I think, it's kind of a Hail Mary in a way, but it gives them a chance. If they consent and they know all the risks, then fine. I'm fine with that. But the problem is in the show, in this arc, you know, like they let Martha just sign her contract, and they didn't even explain to her the risks or what was going to happen or nothing. You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
she didn't even read it. She just signed, and then they took her away, and it, you know, that's not okay. But you know, if you get in, like I know an ex of my sister's, you know, he's diabetic, and he would do these experiments, you know, these drug trials or whatever, and you know he'd get like $5,000 for 2 weeks, you know, staying in this clinic taking these drugs, and so they could keep watch over him in case there were adverse effects. But they go through everything with you, you know. So I'm okay if there's consent and if they know the risks, but you know, there's a lot of shady people with that much power who will try and play God and who won't tell them the risks, and so there's a lot of gray area there.
You're completely right. But then again, there's also this, in its historical fact, we have the Nazis who would experiment on the Jews, and we found out how to best cure hyperthermia through them, how best to keep someone from dying of a heart attack through them. So they did a lot of this completely unethical experimentation on the Jews, but we use those results now in our current medical science. So, and I'm not saying I'm pro doing this at all. I'm with you, Melissa. But if there's you know, verifiable progress because of this, Jesus, I mean, do you turn your back on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the question of, do you turn your back on progress made like this? Look, first I want to go back to consent, and then I want to talk about this. There's the patient's consent, which obviously with Martha, where she was actually saying like, no, don't do this, you can't do this to me, they were going ahead anyway. Like then you're just playing like mad scientist role. The other side of it is that, I mean, they were creating baby mayflies in these people. They, you know, there was no consent on the part of these aliens who it seemed like had some form of intelligence. I mean, maybe they were intelligent, maybe they weren't. We don't know. So you never had the consent of them to do that, and that also bothered me. In terms of bad things that have given us good things, there's a woman named Henrietta Lacks, Lacks,
You're right.
who, yeah, and her cells from her body when she was afflicted with cancer have been used in experiments around the world because they were the first line of cells that they could get to perfectly self-replicate over and over and over again, and they've been used in millions of experiments, and never received compensation for this. This was done without her consent or her knowledge, and hugely, hugely, hugely opened up a lot of scientific things. Do we turn our backs on it? No, but we have to say, like, still, like, you can't do this, and if we'd found out about this, then hopefully we'd be able to say, like, you can't do this without her consent and without proper compensation. So it's, I mean, the whole history of how do we help people who've been oppressed because they've been marginalized and been seen as less human throughout our human history is an awful bloody mess, especially in the 20th century with human experimentation. So, I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of privilege of us being able to, like, use the fruits of those things, but I think what an episode like this brings to mind is how important it is that we make sure that those ethics are front and center before we go out trying to create a cure-all for cancer, hepatitis, HIV, etc.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, on to actually first, let's take a little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Owen's death and our big wedding. So we'll be right back, and then we'll talk about those things.
Cool.
All right. Everybody good?
You're good.
Anybody need a little break? No family emergencies?
God, I hope not.
Okay. We'll just jump right back into it. Yes, Alan Dale was a New Zealander. I couldn't remember because I remember him from Lost, and
Right.
he was Australian on that, wasn't he? Because he was Penny's dad, or
Right.
was he British? Okay, so yeah. Anyway, all right. And welcome back to the second half of our 17th episode of Who Virgin. Let's talk about. We've already been talking about these two episodes together so much. Let's just talk about Dead Man Walking and A Day in the Death kind of together as one thing, because I think they kind of work together as one. So at the end of Reset, Owen is shot and he's dead, which I thought was insanely cool. And I'm like, whoa, that was a huge risk. And if they'd left it at that, and like he's dead, and like that was his sort of redemptive thing, I would have been like, oh, okay. Now we can kind of feel bad for him because he's dead, and he never got a chance to make up for the horrible things that he did. But no, we had to go get the resurrection glove, the other resurrection glove, and steal it from the Weevils, and bring him back, and also bring back the incarnation of death at the same time, and let it loose on Cardiff. So I thought a kind of really cool episode, but where did you two come down on this?
I like it. I liked it. At first, you're like, Jesus, Jack, didn't you learn the first time around? Why would you want to do this? And there's no real reason to bring him back other than Jack refuses to let go, and that's his problem. You know, he has become too attached to the team, and I guess he has this sense of ownership of them, and that whole attitude of not letting go is what got him to get the gauntlet and bring Owen back, supposedly to say for everybody to have a chance to say goodbye to Owen, and he thought this is going to be harmless. And there was that joke. It's kind of like a joke where he says, "What's the combination to the lockers?" Right?
Yeah.
And no one's like, "You brought me back for that." That was kind of funny. But then Jack says, "I want everybody to have a chance to say goodbye." And they're counting down the seconds because I think what was it, 30 seconds that the previous glove would bring him back to life only for 30 seconds. So they're counting down, and then when they get to 0, I mean he's still alive, and nobody knows what the heck to do now. So now they have to deal with the consequences of using that stupid glove all over again.
And the glove's walking around like
Right.
it from the Addams Family.
Like it.
Yeah. Or Thing. No, it's Cousin It who's
Cousin is the hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Thing is the hand. So yeah. Which was just silly. As soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, I've ceased to be scared by this episode. It's just funny.
It was a little campy, I think, in that sense, but I kind of knew as soon as I saw Owen die in the previous episode. It's like, well, it's the middle of the season, If this was like a end of season cliffhanger, then there's a chance he could be dead, But in the middle of the season, that's very rare that a show gets rid of a major character that way in the middle of the season. So and it's Torchwood. They have all kinds of crazy devices and things at their disposal. So yeah, I kind of knew, but it was still disappointing that he was back. He should have stayed gone, but whatever. That's my personal hate of him. But I did like the twist. I gotta admit, even though it's him, I did kind of like the twist that they, that the glove worked differently, and they've got, it it wasn't what he expected, Captain Jack. Also, you know, Marco, you had said that he's too attached. I think part of the reason he does it is because as a man who can't die, you know, I think he just wants to hang on to things as long as possible because, you know, he's seen a lot of people in his life leave him.
Right.
And, you know, if he has a chance to hang on a little bit, I think that probably is why. You know, if you delve a little into his psyche. So at least that's where I went when I
You're
saw
right.
it, you know. And it's understandable. It's not the best thing, obviously, but you sympathize with him. You know, it's understandable why he'd want to do that. But yeah, I gotta admit, it was very interesting watching Owen do things like because he has no heat signature, he could beat those sensors, and you know, it's kind of fun watching all of that, you know, and I actually, you know, when he was like emptying his refrigerator and doing, you know, because he can't
Yeah.
and stuff, I actually started to feel a little bad for the guy until, you remember that scene? I don't remember which of the 2 episodes it was in, but that's where they do callbacks to his life. And they called back to the pilot where he sprayed himself with that pheromone shit.
Yep.
And I was like, motherfuckers, I was starting to sympathize just the littlest bits. And then you call back to that?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
I remember that. Because I remember seeing it, and I'm like, uh-oh.
They doubled right back down on that. I mean, which tells me that a year and a half after they wrote that, they still don't realize that was rape. Or else why would they go back to it?
Or maybe they're saying this is his penance.
Also, I'd like to
No,
give...
it was just a flashback of all the things he missed.
Yeah, and he specifically says, like, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't shag. That's the 3 things that I love to do most in life. And it's like, but Melissa, I would like to congratulate you on being the first person to break the MF barrier on the podcast. I think I banned like 3 words from the entire. That's okay. I'll bleep it out, but that was hilarious. And yes, and called for in this case. But yeah, totally. It was like, oh, I miss when I used to put on pheromones and go out and take advantage of not having consent with people. So yeah, that was not cool. But yeah, I did feel bad for him the same way that you were, especially as he's going through. He's like cleaning out his fridge. He's getting rid of all of his like hair care products and stuff like that because he's like, I don't need to shower anymore. I don't need to shave anymore. And then he has this bunch of bananas that are ripening, and he's looking at them, and they're turning brown, and you can just like tell, like see the wheels turning in his mind. He's like, that's me. I'm rotten fruit on the vine, and like that's what my life is. And you're like,
I remember thinking he should use toothpaste because isn't his breath gonna stink still? He should at least like do the favor.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Around him, you know what I mean? He could still brush his teeth just so that he doesn't offend anyone around him, you know.
well, after doing
I don't know
that,
why that occurred to me while during that scene, like, you know.
after doing that upside down puking bit.
Oh, that was awesome.
Gosh. No, that was gross.
That's
No, that was-
disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm one of
'cause,
those people, if I see someone puking on TV, it invokes my gag reflex. I
Yes.
can't watch it. I can't hear it. I can't see it. No, this is why I don't have children. No, just kidding. That's not why I don't have children, but still, it's just no. Mm-mm.
I'm okay with blood. Blood does not gross me out, even in real life. But vomit? Oh no, no. If my child is bleeding, I can deal with it. If my child is puking, I'm like, are you okay in there? Tell me when it's over. I'll come make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
I've had my kid puke on me.
Baby puking on me. Yeah.
It's just
I can't
puke.
handle it.
But I like how they totally reinforce that he's dead. I mean, he can't process this stuff anymore at all.
Yeah.
It's a funny way to do it, I guess.
Gross way. Ugh. I mean, I guess he had to get it out, but that was just not cool. Not cool, Torchwood. Um, but he ends up fighting the living embodiment of death, which was, I don't know. I don't know if that was interesting or lame.
That was lame.
It was like, I guess I'm gonna like try and do like MMA grapple moves on this skeleton smoke monster thing, and
The whole conceit of I'm cheating death or I'm beating death. Ugh, I could have done without that.
yeah,
That part to me was the uninteresting part. I liked everything else that was going on.
yeah. Um, what I did like especially in A Day in the Death, was the out of order storytelling that they were doing and how they were cutting this in and out of him basically talking with a woman who has decided to kill herself, who lost her husband in a car accident like 2 hours after they were married. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? If there's anyone who has like lost all hope and reason for living, there you go. So that was very sad, and I guess there was like a little bit of redemption there for Owen, because he actually does like do a good deed for someone, because it turns out he didn't go up there to jump himself, even though that was the original conceit. But so
Yeah, I think this was like you said, this was the redemption train moving along and showing us that, I mean, he's learned already a couple things about himself, and he's generally trying to help somebody. Like, I don't think the usual Owen would have cared, but the fact that he's sitting down with somebody and trying to talk them out of taking their own life, all because a photograph fell on him, I mean, says a lot. It says quite a bit. So maybe he is a bit redeemed. I don't know. What do you guys think?
he's trying. I don't know. I don't know that makes up for everything. So
That's true.
I enjoy. I did take pause at the end when it was revealed that he didn't actually go because they set it up to make it look like he went up there to jump and just happened upon another jumper. When they revealed that he went up there specifically to save her, yeah, that warmed me up a little to him. Like Andy said, is it going to make up for everything? No. It's like Martha. I'm never going to like her, no matter how useful or badass she might become later, because season 3 was a
You're a
slog,
horrible
and I
person.
just can't. And but I'm never gonna like Owen, but I might warm up to him a little more if he were, to actually become a good person. It's just too bad that it took death to make him that way. You know what I mean? It almost feels like too little, too late in a way. But whatever. I mean, that it was a good deed he did, and it was kind of cool in the end how he used that. What is it called? That thing, and he
the
made
pulse.
the pulse, yeah, to kind of put on the light show, and yeah.
I don't understand that thing. I don't. I maybe I was watching too late at night, and like I just didn't get it. But what was that thing?
It was a response to the probe we sent to space back in the late 60s
It's a
or early
stretch.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
but like,
NASA sent out the messages into space, and that was like the response or something.
why were they like, oh, but it's giving off all of this radiation and it's gonna explode, and then no, suddenly not.
I
Like,
guess they thought it was going to explode because of the radiation signature, but it didn't.
They just don't understand. I mean, I took it as, there's a lot of aliens races and stuff that they haven't encountered yet, and they don't understand everything they see, and they can only use the tools they have now based on ones they have encountered. So maybe this is just something. That's the way I took it anyway. I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't really well explained in my mind. But they do tend to gloss over things sometimes. I think you sort of have to.
yeah, they had to get moving and get Martha out of there and return everything to status quo ante Martha before too long. Oh, aliens, always misunderstanding probes and sending other probes back to Earth in the forms of giant video games trying to kill us, only to be fought off by Adam Sandler and Peter Dinklage and Kevin James. That movie looks so terrible. Speaking of prejudging movies,
I'm gonna watch it. I don't care.
I'm gonna watch the hell out of that movie.
Which movie are you referring to?
Pixels.
Pixels.
Oh.
You see,
No, I have not seen anything for that.
It's Pac-Man's gonna be eating things on the street. I mean, how can you miss that? Plus, and there's a real life Space Invaders going on.
Not really a fan of Adam Sandler.
yeah, me neither.
I forget him. Just watch it for the old, the old-timey video games.
I find that when Adam Sandler's in a movie, it's impossible to forget him. It's impossible to ignore him. Yeah, no, that's okay.
That was something that would have been useful to have been told to me yesterday. Thanks, Melissa. Jeez.
My nephews love that stupid movie. They want to watch it all the time. Speaking of puke scenes, oh my god.
I like old Adam Sandler. He hasn't made me laugh in 10 years.
I like Funny People. No, that was less than 10 years ago.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Funny People was good. But that was Judd Apatow. That was not
Adam. And I actually like Reign Over Me. I thought he was fantastic in Reign Over Me.
So now Adam Sandler can only do serious movies. So
I mean, I can't blame the guy for making tons of money with stupid humor that he has to do nothing about. I mean, he's got to put no effort in it, and he'll still make money. I would probably do the same thing just for the money. Who cares? But it doesn't change the fact that he's a pretty good actor when you give him the right stuff.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you look at Punch Drunk Love. That's an absolutely
fantastic in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. Well, anything more about Owen's death before we move on to Gwen's wedding?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
That's Owen.
We're done. Owen, we're done with you. Thanks. You're dead. Bye. Okay.
I was him a long time ago, but whatever.
You were dead to me before this episode, Owen. So, Gwen's wedding. This was fun. I liked the shape-shifting vampire crazy alien things. That was kind of fun, and the different shapes they were taking, like at the wedding, and that was. I enjoyed myself. I thought that was fun. A little bit sad that they had to go and wreck Gwen's wedding, but I think that's part of the broader storyline that she can't live in this Torchwood world and have that normal life as much as she might want to. That it's just she's never going to be able to have a normal life.
Yeah, she never will have a normal life.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
I thought it was enjoyable, and it's a good change of pace because there was a lot of dark and gloomy before that. So this episode needed to happen. They needed some levity, and lots of parts of it were funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that guy who was obsessed with Tosh, and they're in that tar cocoon together, and she has to tell him to keep his hands to himself, and he won't shut up, so she crushes his nuts.
Yeah, she's like, keep talking and you'll be singing soprano or something, or singing falsetto. Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that levity in that episode that needed to happen because the way this season closes out, it's pretty heavy. So they needed this little break, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool.
It was funny with the dark undertone, which is good. So I like that.
Oh, the feuding moms.
Oh.
That was funny.
I could have. The only way that the feuding moms paid off was with that final, like, kind of Mexican showdown sort of thing, where the evil alien has Gwen's mom by the throat and is going to kill her. Like that made the payoff okay to me, but before then I was just like, ugh, I hate Reese's mom so much.
Yes.
I hate her so much.
Oh, and Jack calls her an ugly bitch or something like that. And then Reese
Yeah.
gets all pissed off. That was
Yeah,
pretty funny.
she had to be that way so that others could mock her or make fun of her. I mean, it was, they needed a character like her, and it's just too bad it had to be poor Reese's mom. 'Cause Reese is second only to Tosh in getting crapped on, like,
Yes.
by storylines and stuff, So it would be nice if he had a nicer mom, but whatever. And you're right, this episode needed to happen because you had to have something kind of funny after the darkness of the previous three. In any other season or any other place in the season, it would have been just kind of meh, but it was enjoyable because it felt like a respite or something, from everything else that had happened. But and I don't really want to analyze this that much because it's meant to be just fun, but like, if you woke up on your wedding day 8 months pregnant or something, would you go ahead with your wedding? Would you forge ahead? I know she had to make it, but that's just stupid. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't do that. You just don't. And then the other thing I don't understand, they got married, and then they gave them all the retcon. So is nobody going to remember their wedding? Like, none of their relatives are going to remember that they got married?
They'll be confused about it, probably.
Yeah, they'll probably be like, I don't understand how that is. They'll be like, oh, that was a crazy wedding. Oh, everybody must have drunk way too much champagne. Everyone forgot about it.
Yeah, every single person.
Here's the thing, and Melissa, you might be onto something about, maybe overanalyzing this, but I don't think so. Because I think Gwen had to do this. She had to because there was other opportunities not to follow through. Because throughout the episode, we see her and Jack kind of giving each other the eye of, I would be with you if circumstances would be different. Because Jack seems to have a thing for her, and she seems to have a thing for him. And I think this is one of those situations where Gwen is saying, if I don't do this now, then I'll probably back out and not do this.
To be fair, Jack kind of has a thing for everybody.
Everybody, yes, yeah.
So, but yeah, there definitely is that, but there's also, I mean, Reese like being worried about that and being a little bit jealous of that too, and he's probably picking up on some of that. So I agree. Like she felt like she needed to, but it's also like trying to create that normalcy in her life. It's like, yes, I can't control everything, but I have to control this. I think that is, I mean, it's such a trope now, but the whole like bridezilla thing. But a lot of people really get very fixated on having everything perfect and just so, and it's gotta be this way, and it's gotta be this day, and everything's gotta be perfect. And man, I just feel bad for poor Gwen because I just wish she could have had a nice wedding and not been impregnated by evil aliens.
Yeah, that's got to be the worst.
Yeah, it definitely does. So none of us have had our weddings ruined like that. Still, I don't know. Is this a worse wedding or the one where Rose's dad dies? Which of those is the worst wedding?
Oh, Rose's dad for sure.
Yeah.
Way more consequence.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. At least no one. Well, wait. No, someone did die. I don't know how they're gonna cover that up. The one guy.
Dude, the best man, or was he the best man?
Right. He got eaten. He was
Yeah.
like half a person.
Yep.
That's true. Throughout the whole episode, people just see his dead body, but then they just forget all about this dude. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
I forgot about it too. I guess they figured it out. I mean, they said they had a long job ahead of them, right? So who knows what they did? They probably put him in a river somewhere, and then oh well, the fish got to him or something. You know what I mean? There's ways they could do this if they had to.
A fish.
I don't know.
An alligator got him. He went
in
on
the
a
middle of Cardiff.
yeah.
Alligator in Cardiff.
Alligators in the sewers. Yeah.
Hey, well, if there's any place it's gonna happen, it's where there's a riff, right? I mean.
Yeah. Totally. It's just people willing to believe all the craziness. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. Anything else or preview of next week?
Previewed next week, the last 4 episodes of this season, and I think it ends very, very, very well. It's very emotional towards the end. It's pretty heavy, so I can't wait till you see it and see what and hear what your reaction is.
So we've got From Out of the Rain, Adrift, Fragments, and Exit Wounds. Just from the name, Exit Wounds doesn't sound like things are going to be very happy.
No.
So.
So much goes down, man.
This is very much an Empire Strikes Back ending to the season,
right.
where everything, yeah. And you'll see, like we just discussed a minute ago about Gwen trying to have the normalcy, and you'll see how that impacts her new marriage. You're going to see quite a bit of that, between her and Reese, and can she really have this normal life? So they've sort of sowed the seeds here in a way. And you'll see some of that coming up too.
Well, they've been sowing the seeds of this as a doomed relationship for a season and a half, basically. I mean, I'm surprised that they lasted this long. I'm surprised they actually got married. I thought he was dead by the end of the first season. So, when that turned out to be a dream, I'm like, oh, okay, that was just a hallucination.
Right.
But, yeah, that's a doomed relationship from the start, unfortunately. But no, that's good, and we'll hopefully try and find a time sometime over the 4th of July weekend when we're all not being bad Americans to to record this, and maybe we'll talk about how terrible Terminator Genesis was, or maybe we won't. So. We'll see. But thanks, Mark, for being here. Thanks, Melissa, for being here. Thanks to everyone over at Big Shiny Robot for hosting the podcast. And I will try and live tweet these if you follow @WhoVirgin on Twitter. I'll try and make a conscious effort to do that this week because I did not do that with these last few episodes. But otherwise, we will see y'all next time.
Catch you guys later.
And that's over.